Have you ever taken a deep breath and blown as hard as you can into a game cartridge to see if you could fix... Oh, hold on. I said that weird. Rewind. Okay. Have you ever taken a deep breath and blown as hard as you could into a game cartridge to see if you could fix it?
Have you ever heard, it's dangerous to go alone? Take this.
Have you ever used the code up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start?
Have you ever been told, thank you, but our princess is in another castle?
If so, you might be a Xennial, and we are too. Hi, I am Dani.
And I'm Katie.
And you are listening to Generation In Between, a Xennial podcast, where we revisit, remember, and sometimes relearn, or learn altogether, as we'll see today,
for the first
all
time.
Kinds of things from our 80s childhoods and 90s teen young adulthoods. And today we have a super exciting episode that was a big part of so many Xennial childhoods and teenagedoms and even adulthoods for some of us. And that is Nintendo.
Woohoo!
Yes. Plus, we have another guest today, and it's a very special one, our second guest on our podcast. But before we tell you who it is and before we introduce them, Katie, I have to know, did you have a Nintendo Entertainment System back in the day, and were you a gamer?
So yes, my household did.
But not you personally?
Not me personally. I do have memories of in like first and second grade. I had a friend's house where I would go spend the night, and our family didn't have a Nintendo at the time, and we would play Paperboy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I remember playing that and really, really wanting it, but I had brothers, and they eventually got a Nintendo, but
Got you.
I never really played it, and I would not classify myself as a gamer then or now.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, we had one, but we came late to the party. Our guest star is going to tell us some timeline information, so I won't say too much. But my sister and I got a Nintendo late in the game, like when Super Mario 3 was out. So people who out there who are gamers will know that was a little bit after like Nintendo came out, so we had to wait a while. But yes, back in the day, I was quite the gamer.
Whoa.
I was a Mario. I loved Mario. Super Mario 3. I can still be really awesome at that game. Just saying. And Dr. Mario, we played that a lot. So I was, but I'm not a gamer now. Okay. I love the old school Nintendo games, but I do not continuously be a gamer. Okay.
Fair enough.
So, all right. Without further ado, now that y'all know that about us, let me introduce our very special guest today. It is my very own husband, who y'all have heard about many times. He is a retro video game hobbyist extraordinaire. Okay, look at that title. Troy Combs. So welcome to the podcast. Yay!
Yay!
And Troy loves hugs. Go on, Troy. Same one.
He actually does.
I know.
He actually does.
We've
I mean,
talked
not
about
from
it.
everyone. He's a selective.
That's
I'm
true.
selective with the hugs. but-
Yeah. So, okay, honey, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about why you're here, your connections to Xennial life. Are you a Xennial? That's a question.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll get into that. Maybe you'll tell me if I'm a Xennial.
Yes.
I already
We are
know the answer.
experts.
I know everything about you.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me here. It's like such a privilege to be able to kind of see behind the scenes on your production and work with such an elite team. So this is very exciting.
I paid him to say that.
Yeah. And
Hey, I'll take it.
of course, caveat up front, I don't claim to be an expert on any of this stuff, but kind of like Dani said, I've just been sort of a lifelong fan. Loved this stuff when I was a kid and then got back into it as an adult. So I'm sure there might be some inaccuracies or whatever. A lot of this is based on my own experiences and memories, but also based on research. So if anybody out there has corrections or whatever, let us know, because again, I'm not an expert.
And he's not very active on social media, so you can't add him. So you can,
You can add
me.
us, but luckily you'll have a direct line to him.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say, you basically just described every episode we do. We're
correct.
we're going to do our best.
That's
and we do research and all
for
of
real.
that, but we don't know everything, and
No.
we are not an expert in all things, but I think we're more excited about, I see some of the things you brought with you today.
Show and tell today.
About you. And don't worry, we'll have pictures of all that stuff on social for you guys. And of Troy, who has a really fun Legend of Zelda t-shirt
boy.
on.
Me too.
Yay.
Oh yeah, what's you? I don't even know what
Zelda.
yours says. Oh,
That's Zelda. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll take a picture, but
it doesn't say Zelda, so I wouldn't know.
I know.
That.
So wait, you never answered. What year of birth are you?
Okay, so I was born in December 1976.
So close to being a Xennial.
So obviously older than you. I've always sort of identified or said firmly Gen X, which maybe Gen Xers are like weirdly proud of that or whatever.
Yeah.
But now being a fan of this podcast, I realize I'm very close to Xennial and certainly have a lot of shared experiences with the Xennials.
That checks.
Yeah, because you're like the tail end before the Xennial year.
Yeah,
Right.
So
totally.
So you probably are on the cusp.
Totally. And all the stuff we're going to talk about today is really 80s and 90s, sort of 80s childhood, 90s teenager-ish
So our
stuff.
jam.
So
Perfect.
Totes our jam.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're ready.
Okay.
We're ready. I'm putting my laptop away until we close because Troy did all the research. Katie and I were like, nice. We just get to show up and chit chat.
okay.
Love that.
So I mentioned I was born in 1976, so I was a child of the 80s. Being very young, early in the 80s, I remember having an Atari.
Yes.
Do y'all remember Atari?
We had an Intellivision.
Right. Okay. So that was another
No
one around the
Atari.
same time.
I remember Atari. We did have one. We played that. Is it Meteor game? What was the game?
Asteroids?
Yeah.
Totally.
Meteor.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for all the fun things Katie's going to say. I can't wait.
We're off to a really good start.
You got
guys.
Paperboy, right?
I did get Paperboy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So Atari was like in my living room growing up. I remember it as a very young kid. And of course, as a 6, 7-year-old, whatever, that stuff was super cool. Even though maybe looking back, they weren't the best games or whatever. So that was my like very early sort of video game memory. And then skip ahead in time to when the Nintendo came out. So this is really focused on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Let's do it.
And we'll get a little bit more into the gap between Atari and Nintendo later. But I got a Nintendo Entertainment System in 1988. So at that time I was 11-ish, and there's kind of a bit of a story here. So I was a military brat. I lived in England at the time, and back then in the 80s, obviously no internet, and being in England, it was really hard to get things, American things especially. So you couldn't just go to the store and buy a Nintendo. Of course, there was also the whole money aspect of it. It was pretty expensive for the time, which we'll talk about later as well. So my dad at the time was getting remarried. And
Hey, Charlene, we love you.
my now stepmom, Charlene, lived in California, and she was coming to England to move there. So unbeknownst to me, when she showed up, she carried with her on this international flight the Nintendo Entertainment System, brand new in the box, along with a couple of games.
Wow.
That totally checks. If you ever meet her, that will totally check. she's just the best.
Future stepmoms take note.
She's the best.
I'm an actual stepmom, and
I
I'm
know.
taking note.
You better show up with a Nintendo, except it's been too long now.
Right.
No kidding. Yeah, it's too late for me.
Yeah,
But-
so talk about like the best gift ever.
The key
like,
to your heart.
yeah, it was just amazing. And it was like this sort of time kind of in between my birthday and Christmas. So they didn't make me like wait till Christmas or whatever. It was like as soon as she got there, I could open it, and it was like, oh my gosh, just totally like unlocking like my imagination.
Was it just for you or you and Melinda?
Well-
Troy has a sister 2 years older.
Melinda can probably correct me on this.
She will.
I'm sure it was for both of us, but it just became like de facto mine because I played it all the time. It was like my whole jam, and she played it as well, but wasn't into it as much as me, obviously. So I just want to like sort of paint this picture of being in like the 80s as an 11-year-old, the first time you plug in Super Mario Brothers, and it's like your imagination just runs wild. It's just like, it was such an awesome feeling to be able to like run along, as Mario, whatever, find all the hidden secrets or whatever, warp zones, all that stuff. Because to us at that time, we had never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing. And I think now looking back, still enjoying these games, still collecting them or whatever, you're still chasing that feeling as like an 11-year-old, like the first time you saw this, and it was just like, it was so cool.
That nostalgia feeling is like our specialty here.
Totally is. And maybe you're going to get to this, but how many games do you own? How many Nintendo games do you own?
Oh my God. Currently?
Oh,
Yeah, currently.
Yeah, look at my face when you ask that.
I think there'll probably be several times where I could say that could be a whole separate episode.
It could be like 100 episodes.
I honestly, I meant to look. I do have an app that tracks all of them.
Okay.
But it's probably in the hundreds.
Danny's face said $1 million, but
Yeah,
okay.
it feels like it. He has like a Monica closet.
Oh.
Yeah.
No,
Well, he also has like a display that is very nice and wonderful and organized, but then the overflow goes into the Monica closet.
I love that.
Yeah, I have a collection of probably like 6 or 7 different consoles and probably have 30-ish games for each.
Okay.
For Nintendo Entertainment System, I probably have 50 or 60.
Wow. Okay.
I'd say more than that.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
We'll send it, maybe we'll put a picture.
I didn't even know there were that many.
Oh no, there's hundreds, like 700-800 or so
God.
licensed games. But it's a whole thing because some of them are super rare and valuable. There's some games that are thousands of dollars because they're so rare, and then there's other games that are really good that cost like $5 that you can still buy.
Oh, okay.
So
Good to know.
it's kind of widespread there.
Okay.
Okay, so the Nintendo Entertainment System was the console that I grew up with. That's all I had as a kid. So it had a lot of staying power, but also as I got a little bit older, started driving, whatever, got into other interests, and I wasn't really playing video games much, as a like junior, senior in high school and into college. But I do have memories there in college of playing like Super Nintendo, N64, PlayStation 1 with my friends.
Those came out late 90s, right?
Yeah, I have the dates a little bit later, but Super Nintendo and N64, or Super Nintendo was 90s, N64 and PlayStation 1 were like early 2000s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Someone will correct me on that.
Patrick. It'll be Patrick.
Yeah. But then jump forward. I'm just doing a quick sort of video game history of my life.
Yeah.
I know. This is very...
I like it.
I forgot all this stuff. I knew this.
Well, you remember this in 2005.
Oh, I will remember this.
When we moved in together, we got a GameCube.
We did. Yeah.
Which a little bit of that was me still like sort of trying to recapture the old feelings of, playing Mario Brothers and whatever. But we played Mario Party. And Mario Kart.
So Katie may not know what Mario Party is.
There must have been another version of it.
Oh, there's a bunch.
When Wii came out, was there a Mario Party for Wii?
Yes.
'Cause my kids had that. My teens had that when they were small, and I remember that. And I remember being like, "This isn't Mario." Because clearly, I'm the gaming expert, and I was like, "Where's the mushrooms and like the little tubes?"
It's
and
a group
all this?
game.
Yeah, and they were like playing together, and I was like, "I'm confused by."
You're like, I can't do this. It's too cartoon. Like, goodbye.
Yeah.
You might be onto something.
I know.
Me and the gaming, like you might be, but yes.
Okay, so then later on we had kids, etc.
Yeah.
The Wii came out, which you mentioned. Our kids had a 3DS.
Yep.
Which was a lot of fun. But then the next really big event in this timeline was 2015. This is when Charlene comes into play again.
See, Charlene.
The saintly woman. She was cleaning out her basement basically and found my old Nintendo, all of my old games. And Danny knows I'm kind of weird with stuff like saving boxes and trying to keep things in pristine condition. Yeah. So all of my games, even as a little kid, I saved all the boxes, all the manuals, which is sort of a bit of a rarity now because a lot of people just threw them away. But she had all of this stuff still like in a cardboard box in her basement. And she was like, "Do you want this stuff?" And I was like, "Hell yes, I want this stuff. Thank you so much for not selling this at a yard sale."
Was it the same one she gave you?
It was the same one. It's the same one that you're looking at right here.
Oh, it's here. Okay, I did not know this. I totally did not know this.
This Nintendo sitting here has made journeys across the world and around to
multiple times,
all over the place.
This Nintendo has more passport stamps than me.
Same. I've never been to England.
Me either.
This one's been a few times.
I work for a company in England, and I keep saying, "Well, I should come to a meeting," and they're like,
"They're like, you're fine.
They're like, you're good. Just hop on Zoom." I'm like, okay.
So I'm like, yes, of course I want this. Please send it to me. So she sent me this like huge cardboard box, and then this was when we lived in Virginia.
Yes,
if you remember this scene. There's a couple ways I can describe it. One. Is first of all, it's like a Christmas Story.
Yeah.
When the dad gets the leg lamp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the package shows up and he's so excited. I'm like clearing space out. I'm like, everybody like gather around.
And Cooper was like a toddler at the time.
Yeah, he was like three 3 or 4, whatever.
Troy was like, "Don't touch it."
So we opened this box, and now, like, looking back, it's like the scene in Pulp Fiction when they look in the briefcase. It's like sunlight is like coming out of this box. There's nostalgia like dripping out of it. It was like so amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this stuff in so long, and it's all here, and it's all in like perfect condition. It's so exciting. Like the kids are grabbing stuff out of the box and everything.
You were sweating.
Yeah, it was so much fun. So that sort of kind of unlocked the like next part of this the story as an adult getting back into this stuff. So we started, hooked it up, playing the games with the kids or whatever, and then I kind of got into the collecting aspect of understanding now, 30 years later, some of this stuff is rare, some of it's valuable, all of it's still fun to have and to play. So
before 2015, at least for this, I know you collect other things like baseball cards and stuff like that. You weren't necessarily collecting video games until that re-sparked your interest.
No, yeah, not at all, really.
Wow, cool.
You also have to talk about that documentary we watched during that time.
Right. So around the same time, we watched a documentary on Netflix, I think, called Nintendo Quest.
Oh my gosh, it's not there anymore, but if you can stream it somewhere, it's so good.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's cool because, again, at that time, I didn't realize there was this whole world of like retro game collecting, and a lot of people didn't realize like this stuff is valuable and it's meaningful to a lot of people, and there's like whole communities out there that are into it. But that was like right at the time, like following that, there was kind of an explosion in retro game collecting, and then everything became kind of overpriced or hard to find. Like you'd have scalpers or whatever showing up at garage sales, like first ones there so they could grab stuff and then go sell it on eBay. So
that pandemic kind of did with that too.
Yeah. There was this whole COVID effect too, where people weren't leaving their house or whatever. They were looking for stuff to do at home. So they were snatching up all the video game consoles they could, which then drove up the prices on all the games and everything. So it made collecting that kind of stuff a bit of a challenge. It was a lot more fun when you could find stuff at a thrift store or a yard sale and be like, oh, I remember this, and it's only like $1. So,
right. Kind of when we found all those Disney movies at the thrift shop, all those VHSs, and they were $1.
Yeah.
But we didn't buy them because
we bought one, which we're going to have an episode about.
Yeah, we did buy one. But anyhow, go on.
Okay, so that kind of sets the background of basically why I'm here and why I'm talking about this. So to get into the Nintendo Entertainment System itself, we have to talk a little bit more a historical background, I guess. So we have to go back again to 1983. Which is when the video game crash of 1983 occurred.
What? No.
Have you heard of this?
No. Katie's not going to know any of this. She has a face of wonderment. Face of wonderment.
I am having, my brain is like waking up in all these places. It's like, there's a world you don't know about, Katie.
Yeah,
girl.
There's stuff out there.
Right, so I'm sorry, video game crash of 1983. Okay,
yes.
I'm there.
So basically in 1983, the home video game market was completely oversaturated. So I mentioned the Atari earlier, like everyone had one and they just, eventually sat there and collected dust. This was kind of an example of how capitalism can ruin things.
See?
He said it.
Yes, he says it. Yes,
he said it. Okay.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
I knew I would like that.
Yes.
So video games were so popular, more and more companies got involved and they just became overproduced. To the point that they were just putting out really bad products to just try to make a buck.
They were
basically.
crappy video games.
Exactly.
Okay.
The reason for this, first of all, software development practices. The developers were underpaid and were not credited for their work.
Ugh.
So
capitalism.
Yeah. So what you got was somebody could work really hard on a game and it could be good and they get no credit for it. Or conversely, they could just put out a crappy product and no one would even know it was them necessarily.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah. So there's no really pride in the work. Also, third-party developers, there was no restrictions on third-party developers, which meant any company could just make a game and it would be compatible with, say, Atari 2600. And so someone could buy it and plug it in and play it. So it's to the point where random companies, examples, Purina, And
like the cat, the dog
yes,
food?
yeah. And Quaker Oats made Atari games.
What kind of game?
Yeah, I don't know what games they made, but I know it's just an example of all the random companies.
It's like, hey, we make oatmeal, also video games.
Yeah,
also.
so people will buy it and they'd be like, this game is trash. Like this. What's the point? I just wasted my money. I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore.
It kind of brings down the whole industry, kind of to your point, because then the really good things, people are just so burned out from all this crappy stuff that they don't even, want to see that. And also what you mentioned about the developers, there's no incentive.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
A good job.
Right. And additionally, the graphics were terrible. If you remember the Atari, the graphics were really bad. I mean, it's sort of limitation of the technology, but on the box art they would put all these really cool pictures. Like E.T. is like the famous example of the worst game of all time.
I'm gonna pull it up and send it to you.
Okay.
So the like E.T. box art looks really cool. It's like, oh, this is going to be just like the movie. I can play as E.T. Then you put the game in and it's like this rectangle, you're moving around the screen, falling in random holes, and it's like unplayable.
It's so bad. I'll pull it. I'm gonna find it.
Which is kind of bizarre because the movie E.T., especially for the time, had amazing like special effects and graphics. So there was like no way to translate that to a video game.
Right. There's much more. Like, once again, this could be another episode. There's more to the story of how the movie became super popular, so they rushed the game into production.
Oh, I see.
And the developers were like, there's no way we can do this in that timeline. And they forced them to do it, and it turned out to be one of the worst games ever.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture of it as soon as I can pull it up. Here
Okay.
It is. Well, I'll just show you all the images, and you can scroll through. Like,
let me see. I'm scared.
Do you see the green?
Oh.
So you see the green
Yes.
field and the little blob? That's E.T.
Yeah, so you can see what the cover of the box looks just like the movie, but then the graphics of the game
This is wild. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just the graphics, but the gameplay as well. Like, you'd be walking along and just randomly fall in a hole and not be able to get out of it.
Yeah, you see right here, right there.
Oh, yeah, sure enough.
So you just walk around the hole.
Yeah. And I remember playing this game, and like as a kid at the time, we didn't have internet. We didn't have a lot of options.
Right.
You played the games that you had. And it's like, I am determined to play this game and like it. Regardless, because
I'm going to win it.
Yeah.
This game's going to work, damn it.
Yeah.
Get out of the hole, E.T.
Okay. And so the other thing that happened at that time was personal computers were released and started becoming more popular. So that was seen as sort of a more mature alternative, or you could do your taxes or whatever on it and play video games. So why do I need this separate video game console? So that time, this video game crash, the consensus was like home video games are done. It was just a fad. It died out, and they're never coming back. So that is kind of sets the backdrop for the Nintendo being released.
Okay.
Okay. So are you ready for your first trivia question?
Oh, I am. I'm going to win.
I'm ready. Who knows what I'm going to say? I can't wait for this.
I don't know
I should go first because if you know the answer.
I don't know if you want to compete against each other or just be a team against the system.
We'll let Katie try first.
Okay.
It might surprise you.
I know. You may actually, I think you're going to know more than you think you do.
Okay.
So I have some questions spread throughout here. Some of them are difficult. Some of them are easy. So there's a little something for everybody.
That was like a bless their heart.
It's okay. It's okay.
We're gonna do our best. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, the first one might be a little bit of a deep cut.
Okay.
What is the Famicom?
Oh, what? I can't help you here. The whaty?
The Famicom?
Famicom. Famicom.
Is it the economy of selling familiar things to families like a video game console? I don't know. Do you know?
Well, I mean, it must be a company name for something. Famicom?
I'll give you a clue. It was produced by Nintendo.
Was it like a family game?
That's close.
Like can be played by more than one person? Multiple
Was it their
controllers?
first at-home console?
Yes. That's close enough. We'll give you that.
Dang, Troy, that's hard.
I told you it was a bit of a deep cut. they did have like a home console before it, but Famicom is short for Family Computer.
Oh, so not commerce.
Okay.
So it's
It's the market of selling to toddlers. I went too deep on the deep cut.
You said deep cut. She went deep.
It's the predecessor of the Nintendo Entertainment System. Basically, it's the Japanese version of the Nintendo.
Okay.
And what year was it released?
Well, if 83 was the crash, I'm gonna say 84. What
Sure,
are you gonna
I'll
say?
go with that.
All right, that's a good guess, but it's wrong.
He's like, I'll give him
And you're
a
wrong
second.
again.
Yeah, wrong again.
It was released in 1983. So
Oh, okay.
the same year as this video game crash is happening in North America, Nintendo was releasing this new home console in Japan. So the Japan market was a little bit different, and the Famicom was actually successful at this time in 1983.
Because Nintendo is a Japanese company.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the original Japanese Famicom looked like some sort of hover car with controllers stuck to it. The top loading system originally had 2 hardwired controllers that could be stored in cradles on the side of the device. After an initial hardware recall related to a faulty circuit on the motherboard, the console became quite successful in Japan based on the strength of arcade ports like Donkey Kong Jr. and original titles like Super Mario Brothers.
Yes. Like this. This
Okay.
is it. The
Yep,
red.
that's
Red
it.
and white.
Oh.
We pulled up a picture. It's red and white.
So yeah, it almost looks like one of those old calculators with the like the register tape where you type and the tape goes through. That's what it kind of reminds me of. Just like the shape of it and the size. So it had a holster for the controllers. Quick question, maybe you're going to get to this. Why don't they do that anymore? Because that is one thing for my kids' PlayStations, especially now that some of them are wireless. You have to like set them on top of the console or like on the side. Like, why did they get rid of the like built-in holders?
That's a good question. I think one of the things with Famicom is the controllers were wired to the console, so you couldn't unplug them. So if a controller broke, I don't know what you would do to fix it. With Nintendo, they're removable. Now, of course, they're all like wireless, so it's just, I guess, a design decision to keep the console.
But with a
smaller.
Switch, they go on the side of it.
They do,
Yeah,
it's
true.
different.
Yeah, so some of them it's like part of it, and some of it's not.
We ain't talking about PlayStation. We talking about Nintendo.
Right.
So I don't know.
You're right. All right, go on.
Okay.
Famicom.
So the Famicom
Doesn't roll off the tongue.
the Japanese Nintendo was released then at the same time as the video game crash in North America.
Okay.
So Japan or Nintendo was looking to enter the North American market, but they're kind of fighting against this battle of, like home consoles are dead in North America. So they charged ahead and designed the Nintendo Entertainment System to sort of counter this video game crash and try to basically revive the home console market. And that's exactly what they did. So next question.
Uh-oh.
When was the Nintendo Entertainment System released?
Here?
Yes.
In the
North-
U.S.
Yep.
Okay. I think that was 85.
85.
Yes. Very
Yes!
good. Yay.
Woo!
October 1985.
I knew that one.
Too.
Nintendo of America was like really concerned about having success because of the video game crash. So it was like a sort of a slow release of like releasing it in like small markets or really in limited markets and then kind of expanding from there. So it was released in 1985, but it took a while to kind of gain traction. Next question. Can you name 2 accessories that it released with?
Do we each want to do one?
Yeah.
Joystick? Does that count? Oh, what were you going to say?
That's wrong.
That's wrong?
No, I will allow that. I would call it a controller. It did not have a joystick.
Oh. Accessories.
You can look around the room.
I'm trying to remember if the zapper was with it or if it was something else. I think the other thing that did not work came later. Was it the zapper?
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. So let's do a little show and tell.
Woo!
Here's your zapper.
You can let Katie hold it.
Okay.
It's probably for the first time I ever have, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh,
Are you serious?
It literally says Nintendo Zapper.
Yeah. So the zapper was the light gun. Squeeze the trigger.
Did you ever play Duck Hunt? This is
Listen,
what you
guys.
played Duck Hunt with.
Yep. Everybody will know that sound.
I never have played Duck Hunt.
You never played Duck Hunt?
No. Okay, I'm passing it over.
Yeah, so it's the light gun used to play Duck Hunt in other games, but
I used to cheat at Duck Hunt and hold it to the TV. I was one of those kids. Held it on the screen
So
like this.
one tiny aside, we went on this haunted house ride at the Mall of America. It's like really, really old, and they have, I swear it's those. And as you go through, you're supposed to shoot ghosts, and there's all these targets.
It's like Buzz Lightyear, but a haunted house.
Yeah, but like really old, like things that pop out. I mean, but my daughter Tegan loved it to the point that like none of us wanted to go on it anymore. She's like, "Can I just go by myself?" And it was like a little car. I was like, "I guess." So we're all just standing there, and I'm like, I just let my kid like go into this dark, like whatever. She comes out. She's got one zapper in each hand. And there's kids in line who see her and they can see the score on her screen as she's pulling in. And they're like, that girl got 350. How'd she do that? She's like, hey, guys. And we're like, wow.
So Tegan needs to play Duck Hunt.
I think so.
She's natural.
I think so.
Oh, am I not supposed to wrap the wire?
Probably not.
Oh, it's fine.
I'm going to give him panics. I'm like wrapping
Don't
the
do
wire.
it wrong, Danny.
I'm wrapping the wire around the zapper and his eyes were looking at me like, stop it.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it alone.
Let's just pass that back.
He's like, let me have that back into my safe.
Yes.
Yeah, let's find a safe place.
Ooh, okay. Well, we won't walk around. It's okay down there.
So back to the release of the Nintendo. What Nintendo went to market with in October 1985 wasn't just a console redesigned for new territory, but a comprehensive rebranding strategy meant to convince Westerners that the NES wasn't like those old video game consoles that had burned them a few years before. This new Famicom was billed as an entertainment system that required you to insert game packs into a control deck, not some pedestrian video game console that took cartridges. So
those aren't cartridges. We're to believe that these are game packs.
Game packs, yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Here, let's do another show and tell. There's a game. If you look at it, it doesn't say like video game on it or cartridge or whatever. It was like sort of an intentional rebranding to kind of reset the market, after the video game crash.
I'm looking at Excite Bike.
Yes.
And it says Nintendo Entertainment System, programmable series, and it has a picture of a controller, but it doesn't say controller.
And you also see a seal of approval on there. That one's actually weird. It's funny. It has the sticker from a video game rental store, but under that is the Nintendo seal of approval. So that's how they addressed the problem with third-party developers. They limited who could produce games for the console.
Such a smart move.
Yeah, so they had like a special chip in their cartridge that they controlled access to, so they would release that to developers and then in turn have to approve their game before it was could be released on the Nintendo.
Smart.
I know.
So they had always had very good games, sort of avoided the problem of all the really crappy games coming to market.
I mean, they had some crappy games.
Yes, some slipped through, but not on the level of like Atari.
No. E.T.
Not Quaker Oats bad.
And E.T.
Not
stuck in a hole.
E.T. stuck in a hole. Yeah, exactly.
The one other accessory I forgot to mention that it released with was Rob.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll pull up a picture. Hold on.
Rob is do you know what it stands for?
I don't remember, no, but
ROB?
I can, no, I don't remember.
Is the robot operating buddy.
Yeah, you're gonna love this.
It was like this little robot thing that came with it, and I never had one of these. But that same article says accessories like Rob the robot assured parents that this wasn't just for video games.
I've never seen that in my whole life.
Explain what you're seeing.
Okay, so you know what it looks like? It looks like WALL-E from the animated movie, or what was the one from back then? The robot movie, and he
Short Circuit?
Short Circuit, a little bit, but more like WALL-E. So I don't understand. What did this thing do?
I'm trying to get a Zoom. Hold on. There's one on eBay for $500.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So I never had one, but it interacted with the games. So the eyes on the thing had like light sensors. You could see what was going on with the screen. So you could play different games and it would do different movements or even press buttons on the controller to do different things along with the game.
Which for 1985.
Yeah, so that was sort of an intentional move, again, to differentiate from the old video game systems and be like, hey, this is more of a like mature technology or like a cool thing, not just a video game. So
okay. Okay, but it seems like that didn't catch on as much because eventually they abandoned that, right?
Right. It was pretty limited on what games it worked with. So I think there's maybe 5 games, I don't know, 10 games that it can actually work with. And eventually it kind of fizzled out. But by the time it fizzled out, the console had like a strong foothold and it was off to the races.
So you didn't really need it.
No.
Right.
Just so you know, there is one on eBay in an original box. Katie, how much is that price?
$2,750. I think we need like a screenshot of that for our socials.
Yeah. All you need to do is click that buy it now button and show it.
Troy's like, my plan is working.
Okay, so the next trivia question is Price is Right.
Okay.
Oh, how much was the original?
Yeah.
What you're gonna ask?
How much did the NES retail for in 1985?
Oh, did it come with any games?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, good question. Look at you. Investigative reporter. It's like you're a writer or something.
It's weird.
There was different versions released throughout the years with different things like included. The one I'm asking about had the Rob, the robot, the Zapper, 2 controllers, and 2 games.
Okay.
So you get a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff. I'm going to say $125. Maybe that's too high, but that's what I'm going to say.
I'm going to say $189.
Okay. I don't know. We're not doing Price is Right rules. We'll just say.
You said Price is Right.
Well.
Are we both over?
No.
Oh.
I tried.
Because that's what you get out.
You have to give us specifics.
Closest without going over.
I was trying to change the rules so you could win because you were really close, but you were over. It was $179.
Okay. Troy likes to build up. He likes to. What is it? What is the right word I'm looking for? Troy likes to
Anticipation.
I like it.
He does that with our kids. He'll be like, "So I got something," and he'll like have it in the box, and he'll just stand there. And like look at us like waiting. We're like, just open the box.
Yeah. I love that so much. Well, Price is Right's rules I would have won,
right.
but Dani was technically closer.
Right.
So take it for what? Okay, so
whatever. We're both wrong.
You're both winners.
Do we know I can look it up for inflation what that would be today?
Yes, we do actually.
Oh, okay. I like Troy. Can you be here every time? Because we'd be like, that'd be like $1 bajillion today.
I'd be like 1,100.
That's kind of where I was going. So 179. No.
Bajillion? No, just kidding.
179 to me right now, it's like, oh, that's like reasonable. But back in 85, that was a lot of money, kind of like I alluded to earlier. So in today dollars, it'd be $520.
Ooh.
Which
is, I mean, for a new PlayStation with all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's about right.
So it seems steep, but a PS5 costs about that much.
Yeah.
Of course, with a PS5, you get 1 controller. You don't get 2. The second controller is like $80. You don't get game. Well, you can't get games included, but games are expensive as well. So, but then compare the technology as well. Like a lot more technology in a PS5, but then the technology of the day was there.
It was expensive technology because it was the first time people were doing this. So what you're saying is Charlene was balling back in 85.
She's an engineer, so probably.
So yes,
probably. But I mean,
engineer from California. Yeah,
I'm sure my dad contributed to that as well.
Sure. Yeah, you're probably right.
She worked for the military as well. She was a civilian contractor.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we're just told our family's whole business, so there you go.
And here's your social security numbers and their tax returns for the last 5 years. Yes.
So next question. What was the first game released on the NES?
Oh, I should know this, but I don't.
But it wasn't Paperboy.
No.
Dang.
I don't think it was Super Mario Bros.
Was it Duck Hunt?
Maybe it was.
I don't know.
Well, okay, maybe it's a bit of a trick question.
Okay, see, listen, every question, Troy,
there was 17 games released with the NES in 1985, which was impressive and intentional to have a bit of a catalog.
They all came out at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So they, part of their strategy to make this a success, was to have a game catalog already built up that they could release with it, rather than just like 1 or 2 games and then it fizzled out.
That was really smart.
So can you name any?
We just named 2.
We named 2, right?
Yes. So those 2 are correct.
Was Super Mario Brothers an original, or was that much later?
No,
yes.
That was an original. Okay.
That was OG.
Donkey Kong, or is that later?
No, actually, that's
Troy.
not.
Ooh,
not
look,
on
you
the list,
stumped
yeah.
Troy.
Yeah, no, that's not one.
That's not one. I feel like that was an old one.
You stumped them.
Well, what's over there?
Well, those are none.
Oh, Excite Bike wasn't one.
That was one.
That was
Excite
Yeah.
Bike?
Yes. So, clue.
Wow.
These are the 17 original release games are known as black box games
Oh, they're okay.
So,
because they were released in a black box.
We'll have pictures. Don't worry.
so Punch Out.
Oh, hold on.
No.
You're skipping ahead.
Oh,
We'll get
yeah,
there.
no, that's it's a different black box.
I was trying to cheat. It didn't work.
He's like, wait, Katie.
Okay, so I'll
Not
give
that
you
kind of black box.
I'll give you guys credit because you both named one. Some of the others, you named Duck Hunt, Excite
Tetris.
Bike, not Tetris, Hogan's Alley, Ice
Oh.
Climber, Kung Fu, Super Mario Brothers, and then there's others. I won't name all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but some of the significance of these, which I'm still holding in my hand. Excite Bike is that it showed the actual graphics of the game on the box.
Yeah, you can
Which-
see it's like pixely and yeah.
Yeah, which again was an intentional design decision because of, like the backlash on Atari games showing like these.
Katie's taking a picture
Yeah.
and
Okay,
Troy
we're good
loves
now.
pictures
Yeah.
so much.
He looks so serious in the picture. I love it.
So that's just my face. I can't help it.
It is true.
So these
I just look like that.
the Atari games that I mentioned showed like all this fancy art and the graphics didn't
Right.
match. This was intentional so that consumers knew exactly what they were getting and they weren't disappointed when they put the game in. And the graphics are still, really good.
They didn't
that.
stay with that though.
Correct. Once they were more established,
Yeah.
it changed.
Like, I feel like they did a good job with that, though.
I
Because
know.
you're not selling something it's not. And it's still, again, especially at the time.
Oh, yeah.
It still looks
Cool.
impressive. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. I want to play that game.
Yeah.
Okay. How much were NES games when they released? It's a range of values.
Okay. I would say like $20 to $30.
Oh my god, I was totally gonna say that, so we're going with
20 to 30.
Okay, that's good. It's really 30 to 50.
that. He's like, okay, that's good, but wrong.
You said one number.
No, you said 30. That hit the range.
Okay. So 20 was too low, but 30 is possible.
Yeah, 30 was like about average or like bottom of the range, and they went up. Over the years they increased in price.
Which is
But
kind of pricey for the 80s.
yeah, so
for one game.
$30 in 1985 is $87 today.
Yeah, like that's
Ooh.
pretty pricey.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people today, parents, consumers, whatever, complain about the price of video games, but
Consistent.
a PS5 game being $70 now is kind of consistent with how it's
Yeah.
always been.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of games for that reason. That's why when you got a game, you would play it to death because your parents were like, I paid $30 for that game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not buying
seriously.
you another one.
Right.
Exactly. And again, there was no internet. It's like not like you could download a game or demo it. Once you bought it, you were stuck with it. And as a kid, again, 11, 12 years old, $30 is a lot. It
Yeah.
would take maybe 6 months to save up that much allowance. So you're getting maybe one game a year outside of Christmas and your
Yeah.
birthday. So, and again, when I lived in England, there was very limited like inventory to choose from. So, you know how I get stressed out when I buy stuff.
Well, I do, but you can inform everyone.
Okay, I get stressed out when I buy
He
stuff.
gets super buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Like either way.
Like I
whether he buys
antagonize
it or not.
over the decision. So as a kid, with my like little $30, and there's 3 games in the store to choose from, it's like, oh my god, I do not want to make the wrong choice because I'm stuck with it. And
Oh, I could just see little Troy in the aisle, like
I was
sweating. Like,
actually about to say I was envisioning Cooper, and like because Troy,
Yeah.
their son Cooper resembles Troy
Oh
a
my gosh.
lot.
Yeah.
and so I just had this like vision of their son now standing there with like $40 220s in his hand, just like looking all distressed.
except Cooper has the opposite problem.
Except he'd be
Yeah.
wearing like hot pink.
yeah, he.
Maybe you did too. But
no.
but yeah, that's what I'm envisioning. Aw, so how would you like what would make you buy one game or another? What would be the final determiner?
well, it's weird. You know, you kind of learn as you go along, but if there was a game that was published by Nintendo, I usually knew that it was like a banger because that's what all the good games were. So okay, so that stay with me. So So that was one criteria. The other thing
That really got her going. She's
All
crying.
right, let's go with it. The other thing is the box art. On the back of the box, there'd be like screen captures and stuff, so you can kind of look and read about it and be like, I can imagine this being really cool or whatever. Then we have to talk about Nintendo Power.
Oh, are you going to tell your story?
No, I don't really have a story there.
Yes, you do. You wrote them
do.
a letter.
You
I
wrote
don't-
Nintendo?
Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I totally blanked on that. You're right. I did, but
Okay, you can
I don't
tell it.
remember. I don't really remember the details of that. But the point is, Nintendo Power magazine was a thing before the internet or whatever. That was how you learned about games. So you could look through there and see like, oh, this game's coming out. You could read all about it or whatever, and then go to the store. And of course, they wouldn't have that game, so you'd have to choose from the 3 crappy games they had. But
So
anyways,
did you even know there was a Nintendo magazine?
No, and was it Nintendo official or was it like a fan magazine?
no, it was Nintendo official, which
Okay.
was like
No, I did not know that.
sort of a whole. It was basically a big advertisement for them, and actually, other companies complained, like sort of like monopolizing the market or whatever, because they could advertise their own games. Nintendo could advertise their own games as much as they want in the magazine, and keep others out if they chose to.
I mean, it was their magazine.
Yeah,
It was
it's
called
like
Nintendo
Yeah.
Power. So what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. No,
So
I
you
did
have
not
to
know
tell
that.
the story, please.
I don't remember the story.
Do you remember it?
I do. I'll tell
Okay,
it.
go ahead.
So because you still have the letter they sent you
I
back.
remember finding the letter that they sent back, but that's all I remember.
Okay, so aside here, I'm stressing him out because this was not planned. So
Yes.
Troy wrote them a letter, which for those of you who grew up during the time that remember the magazine, they would have like write-in letters, and you wrote them a letter about. What did you write them a letter about?
He doesn't know. How dare you?
Okay, he wrote them a letter about a certain game. And we were going through some stuff that Charlene had sent, and he found the letter he got back from
Aw.
Nintendo Power magazine, and he still had it. I don't know if you still kept it. I'm sure it's somewhere in the Monica closet.
Yes.
I
So-
can
in there.
I cannot for the life of me remember what that was about, but I remember finding the letter, and now
Yeah.
I have no idea where it is.
And his eyes got so big, and he was like, "Oh, this is when I wrote to Nintendo Power, and they wrote me back."
That is so great.
So we'll
Yeah.
circle back if we ever find it and let y'all know.
I was a bit of a fanboy.
As were many in that
Yes,
time.
absolutely. I was just wondering, like, how many listeners are going to be like,
I did that
Nintendo
too.
Power.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was plenty of times when I agonized over a decision, went home and put the game in, and it sucked.
Yeah.
But I was like determined to play through that game, and that's kind of like different than now. Like our kids get a game, they don't like it.
I know.
I'll play something else. Like back then, that's all you had. Like I had maybe 10 games to choose from, like as a child or whatever, and I played them all. Okay, so this is a good time to segue into some game topics.
Yes.
Some of my personal favorite games. So we have to start with the goats.
Cue our shirts.
The Legend of Zelda.
Okay.
Which
Ooh, can I read the tagline?
yes, actually you can open up the box to take out the contents.
Whoa. He doesn't
Yeah.
usually tell people they can open up those boxes there.
Yeah.
Katie.
Guys, I'm
Very
opening
careful.
the box. It's okay. Everything is fine. Okay, so it's like a gold box and has like a crest.
Yeah.
Everybody
It's like a
who plays
key.
games is like, yeah, Katie.
And the tagline is includes invaluable maps and strategic playing tips, and it has that Nintendo seal of approval or assurance or whatever.
Yeah. So this is one of the games that Charlene brought when she bought the whole Nintendo thing.
Nice.
So this is like sort of an iconic thing for me. Same box, everything that I had when I was a kid, and I always took good care of it.
Cue to put this back in the box.
Yeah,
Here
Trey
we
has all
go.
his good games in these plastic, what are those? Like just other cases, plastic
Yeah.
cases.
Protectors, I
yeah,
guess.
protectors. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he's serious.
So a little bit of trivia on The Legend of Zelda. This first one is easy. I know that you know this.
So I won't answer.
Okay.
What is the main character's name?
It's not Zelda?
No.
Oh.
That's the princess.
Oh, that's who they're trying to save.
Right. That's why I asked it, because it's kind of a common...
I literally was just reading the back of that, too, and it was probably on there. Did it start with a T?
No, it starts with an L.
I don't know. Lyle?
Is it Lyle? Is Lyle trying to save Zelda?
Who is it? Help.
Go ahead, Dani.
Link.
Yeah.
Link.
L-I-N-C.
I was going to say, is it
No.
L-I-N-C?
No, it's not.
L-I-N-K.
Okay, my
Yeah.
bad. I thought it was L-I-N-C.
Nope.
All
I
these
thought that
years.
too.
Yeah.
Shame on me, and I'm laughing at you for saying Lyle.
Okay, so that was the easy
Lyle
question.
with a C. That's what I was trying to say.
The hard question now is, who created The Legend of Zelda?
Oh, I don't know that one. Capcom.
No, it's a person that worked for Nintendo.
Oh, was it the one guy who created all those games?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot his name though.
Yeah, I mean,
There's one guy who created a whole bunch of games.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is.
He has hair and
And he wears t-shirts
Yeah.
sometimes.
Sometimes.
I was going to say Hashimoto is his last name, but that's a disease.
no, that's really close. Shigeru Miyamoto.
That is nowhere near
Miyamoto.
Mm-hmm.
close. Into the mouth.
Miyamoto's close.
Okay,
Anyways,
Said Moto.
true.
he created Legend of Zelda. He also created Super Mario Brothers, and Donkey Kong. So he's kind of, sort of, I don't know, an icon or whatever of Nintendo that created all these huge franchises. So he's pretty well known, which is why I mentioned him. So from this article, it says, when he was looking to create a new game for the Famicom Disk System, designer Shigeru Miyamoto built a prototype in which two players could make their own dungeons and then explore their friend's creation. The exploration proved to be the most fun part, so Miyamoto and his team scrapped the creation tools and went ahead building a world of mountains and forests and lakes that players could traverse. The game would eventually become The Legend of Zelda, a defining game for Miyamoto, Nintendo, and gaming in general.
Yeah.
And Miyamoto said, "We named the protagonist Link because he connects people together."
Ooh, cute.
I like
didn't know that.
Yeah.
And Zelda's still a big deal. Like they just came out recently with a new Zelda game, and Troy was like obsessed with it. Did you beat it finally?
Yes. Yeah. So this game is important for a lot of reasons. It's kind of the first time, at least for me, there might have been others, but the first time you could explore an open world in a video game. So on the first screen, you can literally go like in any direction. And as a kid, that was like mind blowing. It's like, wow, I can just go wherever I want and just discover stuff and find things. So that was really cool. And you mentioned like the strategy guide and the map and all that. That's in the box still. But back then, that's the tools that you had to like find your way around. There was no like YouTube search or whatever. So I would be there as a kid with this map like spread out on the floor, like trying to figure out where to go.
Yeah.
Or you had like Nintendo Power for like tips,
Cheat
like
codes.
how do I get to that thing? So you were just really forced to kind of like be in that moment and like solve the problem with the tools that you had. And that's something that's kind of lost with modern gaming, and something that kind of makes this like a really important game for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have the digital side, the technology side, the screen.
Right.
But you're also interacting in a very physical, in the moment way, as you mentioned with the maps, or with your friends, or with your magazine that you have to open and find, and you don't really have to do that anymore.
Nope.
Totally. This a way, like a lot of people love retro gaming or still play these old games because of those reasons. There's no online aspect of it. So if you're playing with somebody else, you're in the room together. And a lot of these games were designed for that, to interact with your family or your friends. Even though you're on a screen or whatever, it's together. Now it's, everyone's in their own area on their own screen,
In their own bubble.
doing
With their
own stuff.
headset.
With
My
their
son has a
headset.
Yeah. I don't know why, but it just made me think of, do you guys watch Parks and Rec?
No.
He made a physical game called the Cones of Dunshire, and it was supposed to be a joke, but it kind of reminds me of this. And like all these people loved it, and it was like, you've got to. He's like, we only have 26 dice that you roll, and you have to like roll all these dice. And then he's like, and then you got to wear a hat if you're over here. And it was like this huge like sleeper hit. He created it, and everyone he worked with was like, this was really dorky and geeky, and then it becomes like an international hit because everyone's having these like huge parties to play this game.
I love that.
It's really funny. Anyway, just kind of reminded me what you were saying, like the whole coming together for gaming, which again, I know we'll get to it, but I think like I always liked Wii, and I did play that with my kids when they were younger, like the bowling game and stuff like that, because you were playing, but for the most part, you were playing with like your family or whatever. It wasn't fun if you were just standing there alone, like trying to play tennis or whatever. You had to play with the people around you, and I always thought that was fun. Or you were playing with people waiting for your turn.
Yes.
Which is always the worst. Because you'd always play, like, I always hated playing Mario with my older sister because she was like dominated. So, of course, little sister's always Luigi, right? And so you're like waiting and waiting. And it's like, she's on like world 5. And I'm like, why can you please die so I can have a turn? Like, you always have that one person who is super good and like
took forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then once you get your turn, you fall right into the next hole. You die, and then you have to wait another 10 minutes.
Yeah. And if it's ET, you immediately fall in the hole. Forget it. Your turn's over.
So the one last thing I wanted to mention about The Legend of Zelda is the first Nintendo game to have a battery save. Which was huge because you could save your progress in the game, which kids now don't know the struggle,
understand the pain
of having to play a game that you could not save.
Yeah.
Because I remember playing like Mario Brothers or whatever, and like before school, before I had to go to the bus or whatever, I'd get like to a certain point and be like, I don't want to just like turn it off.
Yeah.
So I would pause the game.
Yeah.
Turn off the TV and just leave it on.
All day.
Go to school.
Same. I did the same thing for 8 hours.
Right.
Race home. Turn the TV. I think God help you if somebody reset that game.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, I was on World 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of interesting.
So Zelda, you didn't have to do that.
Right.
Right.
No,
You
did
could
you
save.
do that? You did that manually. You would save your game and like exit.
Yeah. Like at any point you could like save, you had like a profile or like your own file you could save it to. And there's like up to 3. So you know, whoever
that makes sense. So someone doesn't have to play on your profile.
Right.
Right.
They can play on their own. Okay. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've kind of hit that beautiful hour mark of talking about Nintendo. So what we're going to do is kind of close it here, and then we're going to have a part 2 and continue on the journey of Nintendo nostalgia with Troy. Oh, that's like a fun
Nintendo nostalgia with Troy.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us for part 1 of our Nintendo fun here on Generation In Between. Keep going and listen to part 2. If you are listening, just head right into it or take a break and listen to part 2 later. But for now, we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.